What's up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the Wise Take NFL DFS podcast. I'm your host, Patio Joe. You can follow me on Twitter at Patio Joe Ref. And I'm joined once again by my man, Mr. Paulie D. You can follow me on Twitter at Paulie8Ds. Paulie, we are at week 10 already. Halfway through the season's already gone. I can't believe it. If you ask my wife, she would probably feel like it's been 2.5 months of hell. But for us, it seems to just be flying by. So, Paulie, how you been?
Been very good.
Nice. Yeah, it's how was your week 9? How did that go?
Decent. I had a small winning day, very small. I think I won back what I risked, but I was there. I just had again a couple things I missed on, a couple guys, but I hand built 4 teams, and one of them was my big winner on the day. I think it won I don't know, $400. It got deep in a handful of contests, and I'm just trying to pull it up to refresh my memory. Oh yeah, the Chase Edmonds injury really hurt me. I finished in 20th out of a 1,800 man kind of contest, and 16 points out of first. I think if Edmonds plays that game, I probably get pretty close. And it was a really weird week where a 180 won a lot of contests on DraftKings. That was we saw the Bills lose to the Jags 9-6. It was it's one of those strange weekends. I like those when the slates get ugly, but didn't happen to get up top. But it was a positive week. I feel good about football. I feel like the picks that all 3 of us are making in our articles are on the money, on the right, target. And it's just, in GPP life, you got to get it. You got to hit them all right. You got to be really perfect. But maybe if I was smart, I would play a little more cash because it's a pretty nice run you're on now, bro. What is it? 8-1, 9-1, 8-1?
Well, we're going into week 10. I am 8-1. I'm on a 7-week streak. Last week was a, very chalky slate. Chubb came in at 70%, Zeke came in at 75%, Lamar was 80%. I think if I had to just choose one thing that's kind of different this year, maybe than other years that I've been doing a little bit better on, is kind of getting more of a grasp on what the industry is gonna find the chalk, and kind of just making a slight change from it, just a little bit. You don't have to do much. I mean, all my guys this week were over at least 10% owned, and I still cashed barely, but it was enough. And in 50-50s, you just need to get in the top 50s. I look at my lineup, and it's I had a good, with Keenan Allen, that was in the core.
Yep.
Zeke was solid in the core. But Chubb was my number 1 running back, though, on when I was talking. Lamar was great. Tyreek just didn't do it. And the one change that I made that I was kind of, and this is what goes with some of my principles in cash. So if you guys are listening, this is more of a strategy session. Is I don't stack in cash. So last week we had a situation where the chalk was Gaskin, Booker, and Tony. So I had to make a choice between those 3. I wasn't going to play Tony and Booker on the same team. So I had to make a choice. Was I going to play Gaskin and Tony, or was I going to play Booker and Rondale Moore? Now, I liked Rondale Moore. Once the news came out that Hopkins and Murray was going to be out, I switched because I knew, in my mind, I didn't care what kind of spot Gaskin was in. I knew that Booker had more of the share of the running back. He still had 85%. He got hurt and only got 13 points, but he made value. Now, Gaskin still was okay. He had 21 carries and only had 50 yards. If he didn't score, he wasn't going to make it. So it was part of the reason why I cashed is because I didn't go to Tony and Booker, because I liked Booker more than Gaskin. And if I would have went Tony and Gaskin, I wouldn't have cashed. So I went Booker and Moore, and I wound up cashing by just a few points. Also, one other thing that happened was the chalk defense of the day was the Chiefs.
Yep.
And I was off of them. I wound up, I had too much money taped over, and I was like, you know what, I'll pay up. So all I needed was the Packers to score once.
Yeah, I know.
And that's all they did. They scored once, and it kicked all those lineups just down a few points, and it kicked me up. And it's funny, the sweat in a 50-50 thing, you might not think it is, but when you're like, literally, it's like one player can just totally swing because you got the trains behind you that you're trying to beat and stuff. It could be just as good as sweat. Obviously, it's nothing like winning like 20 grand or nothing, but there's still a sweat to a 50-50 that people underestimate, in my opinion.
Agreed. When you have enough riding on it, it doesn't really matter. You're just hoping to cash, and double up your money or whatever the case may be. So I'm with you on that.
And I've been doing responsible bankroll management to where it's like I'm still keeping my same GPP bankroll every week. I'm not raising that. I'm keeping it the same $30 or $40 while I'm just raising my 50-50 total. I'm just keep betting more and more on the 50-50s, and it's my bankroll it just keeps on getting bigger and bigger. So I'm excited, and I just I'm riding the wave because we know that it could come in a lot. You hit a slump. So I'm enjoying it. I'm willing to get into week 10. This week is going to be a very, very tricky week. We have some just great options at the running back position up top that we'll dissect and stuff. I have my huge favorite of this week. I've been on him like literally since last Sunday. I tweeted it out. So hopefully,
really, I don't know who that is. I'm actually curious. I think I have a decent guess, but I'm looking at DraftKings prices. Let me turn to FanDuel and I'll throw a guess out on that.
He is way more attractive on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings.
Yeah,
but on FanDuel,
I know who it is.
It's like a freaking lock button, and I'm not afraid to. The only thing that will stop me from playing this player is if he is out because of his domestic abuse allegations.
Dalvin Cook.
Yes, but at 8,500 on FanDuel, he's the 6th highest priced running back. He is facing a Chargers defense that I've seen just literally get trashed up and down, get run on constantly. I realize that there's other running backs in just as good a position, but when you look at the pricing of the other running backs in the great positions, to me, on FanDuel, we'll get to there. Obviously, it's Cook because Najee Harris is almost $1,000 more. I'm just not going to pay $9,400 when I think that Cook has just a higher ceiling or higher in a better matchup against a worse defense when it comes to the run that Najee has. Detroit coming off of a bye. Now on DraftKings, the price is the same. They're the same price. That we can have a conversation with. That's where it's way more. CMC is getting some run. Jonathan Taylor's in a tremendous spot. So I feel like this week you're almost going to want to have at least one of them, maybe two, and you're going to have to nail them because if you don't, the other one is probably going to bust or is going to smash, and then it's going to be tough to cash. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, no, I mean, running back is absolutely loaded, and depending what you're thinking of, like with the rest of your teams, and I feel like, I could kind of get an idea of who the guys are people want to play at receiver. Like the build this week is screaming for value. So like we know where there's going to be a punt defense. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a punt tight end. Mm-hmm. And then, this Nick Chubb likely being out situation is, making Giarnis Johnson like one of the best looking value plays at the moment. It's early in the week. There's a lot of Q tags, like things may change, but it's like, if you need to play him in cash, I get that. But in GPPs, like there are so many guys with much higher ceilings that can like run away from him at that position. And, right now that's like a big decision point, but there's not many cheap quarterbacks that I'm really that interested in. And we have some, high profile QBs and good games that could put up big points. You don't want to like miss that. If you get crushed by like a Tom Brady 40 burger or whoever, like that's really hard to make up as well. You really can't miss a QB. So like you're going to be spending money there. You just talked about two running backs that are around 8K that are super attractive, and there's others, but they're all pretty expensive. And then at receiver, there's really nothing value-wise that like jumps off the page. But I think you're going to see more of like a traditional build this week with like, the three value receivers, like mid-tier-ish, 5K kind of guys, a punt tight end, a punt defense, spend up at 3 running backs, and spend up at quarterback.
Yeah, back to the quarterback. So we'll start it off with our DraftKings lineups. I think that there's 2 value options that we can consider. Okay. One of them is Matt Ryan on the road at 6K against Dallas. It's the highest total game of the slate of so far at 54.5. And then Carson Wentz, who has been, I think he's more of a cash play, to be honest with you, because he's been believe it or not, he's been pretty consistent. Yep. And he's facing a Jacksonville team we all know is not very good. He has his last 3 out of 4 games, he's had over 20 points, some over 25 DraftKings points. To me, I feel like if you're going to go value, those are your 2 guys.
For cash games or both GPP?
Let's just say for our lineup, if we're going to want to pay up at running back, we might want to get a little, we could stack that Dallas-Atlanta game and get Ryan as our quarterback. What do you think? Would you rather have that?
No, I'm fine with that. We can start there. To me, then you're locking in Pitts as the pair of on DraftKings, Gage is fine. Zacchaeus put up 20 last week at almost min price. But to me, Kyle Pitts is the guy if you're playing Matt Ryan. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Before we jump off quarterback,
okay.
For tournaments in that same game, you like Wentz, I think Lawrence is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
We've seen the Colts passed all over by many guys. We saw Mike White go for 400 against them. We saw Lamar go bananas.
Josh Johnson.
Yeah. I think Trevor Lawrence is from a trailing position has a chance to throw for 300 plus. Maybe he gets some rushing yards or a touchdown. He's 5'3". All of his pairing options are really cheap. And that kind of cheap stack that you don't even have to crush, but that the correlation hits, he throws 2 touchdowns to the receiver you stacked him with. He gets over the 300-yard bonus and gets you a 24. And the receiver at low ownership gets you around the same. You get 50 points from 2 guys at really cheap is something that could really set you apart if all the good running backs do what they're supposed to do. So that's an interesting play to me, but otherwise there's no one down there that I'm really interested in. It's all 6K and above. And, at the top end, you got Josh Allen against the Jets, coming off a loss. He's always done well against them. You got Tom Brady against one of the worst pass defenses, Washington. Brady's been automatic, 300 yards plus, 3 or 4 touchdowns. You got Herbert, against Minnesota, who's terrible against the pass in a game with a very high total. And then you got this, Dak and Matt Ryan, and also Russ and Aaron Rodgers in a shootout type game with Russ hasn't played in a while and Aaron Rodgers is technically questionable. I expect them both to play, but I don't know if that game's going to get any traction. I love those 2 quarterbacks as well. It's a really nice slate. There's a lot of options, a lot of decisions, but outside of Lawrence for real value, I'm paying up over 6K at quarterback.
Yeah, I could see that. Guys like Rodgers and Wilson will probably come in at under 10% easily.
Yeah, I think
nobody's going to go there. I think the pulse that I have right now is Brady and Herbert are going to be your cash game bills to start off with.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see it. And I think Ryan will be in that discussion too. Losing his Calvin Ridley hurts a little, but the Cowboys defense is, just been obliterated. Denver threw all over them, on turf. But I'm with you. I agree. Do you think Jalen Hurts gets any traction, or are people done with that?
I don't know. I think recency bias, he'll come in way low owned because you got Denver coming off a great performance. They're at home in the altitude. And then you have Hurts coming off of a subpar performance where they basically ran the ball the entire game against the Chargers. He still played okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, he's 6,500. It's just kind of blah. You know what I mean? I feel like you're either going to go to Wentz or Ryan, where you're going to pay up a little bit more and go to somebody like Rodgers, Herbert, or Brady. He's kind of in that kind of dead zone. I feel like nobody's going to go to him.
Yep.
So for the purposes of this lineup, let's go Matt Ryan and Kyle Pitts.
Mm-hmm.
And then our defense, we'll go to defense just to have a little bit of a
Hold
bracket.
on, hold on. We got to run somebody back from Dallas.
Okay.
Like, if not one, but maybe.
I was thinking we go CeeDee Lamb because I feel like he has the best matchup against Fabian Moreau.
Okay.
So let's do that.
Gallup is back this week. Not that I'm interested in him very much, but that does make their entire market share a little worse. You got Schultz who's involved, you got Pollard who gets involved, now Gallup back in the fray, and then Cooper, Zeke, and Lamb. It's annoying, but if you're playing Ryan with Pitts, you got to run back somebody from Dallas. And I'm with you. For me, it would either be Zeke or CeeDee Lamb or both.
Yeah, I think that the person that it's going to hurt the most in that offense is going to be Dalton Schultz, with Gallup being back. So for that purposes, now let's move to defense. Since we already have a quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, and defense, I'm going with right now. I think that we should lock in the Titans defense at 2,600. They're at home.
That's the chalk defense. It's they've lit up the scoreboard, not even just last week, but in terms of DFS points, 3 of the last 4 that scored, I think 7+, and that's going to be the chalk defense right there, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you also have New Orleans coming in with Simeon. We got Kamara that is hurt. He hasn't practiced. They worked out 2 running backs to maybe sign them. So we got maybe Mark Ingram could be another chalky play too, if
Kamara's out.
If Kamara's out, Mark Ingram, especially on FanDuel. I don't know about DK so much, but on FanDuel with just the half point, and he'd probably run the ball a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. But let's move to running back. Let's start. What running back? I mean, we at least have room for one. I also think that we should just do Giarnis just for value because that's what we know right now.
We're gonna need it. Yeah, in any build that I've played around with, and a lot of times I'm doing Aaron or Russ with a minimum of 2 receivers in that game. I just can't afford 3 expensive running backs, and it's you either got to sacrifice at the quarterback receiver stack, doing something Wentz and a cheap receiver or Lawrence and a cheap receiver. But if you end up with an expensive stack, you're not getting the running backs, and this running back list is just so awesome for GPPs.
So who would you prefer a running back if you had to pick your one on DK? We already know what my one is on FanDuel. You're not talking me out with that.
So
on DK, what would you pick? Because this is more DK is more your site.
I mean, I really like Dalvin Cook personally. I don't think he's going to be that popular. I think Taylor and Najee are going to be the 2 expensive guys that people really want to play. I think James Conner has a chance of getting popular after what he just did. Carolina's been run all over. And again, people are going to need this value. And then, obviously, Giarnis Johnson is going to be extremely popular. But I got to tell you, in GPPs, I am really interested in Christian McCaffrey.
Okay.
I watched his entire film. He looked explosive. He was getting a ton of check down type, out of the back. Perfect stuff for, GPPs. Obviously, they, didn't want to cut him loose too much in that first game. But from what my eyes saw, he looked 100% explosive. And in a 50% kind of role, he still got 14 carries, 5 targets, caught 4, no touchdowns, scored 14 points. The cheapest you're ever going to get him, the lowest owned you're ever going to get him. Arizona's run D, I don't have much respect for. They're kind of beat up right now. I think this is an amazing GPP spot for McCaffrey.
All right, so let's lock him in.
That's fine. That being said, though, I do really like Cook and Najee Harris. Detroit's gotten killed on the run this year. So has the Chargers. Both these guys are as close as you get to bell cows. If they're trailing by some, fluke, they're going to get involved in the pass game, and the ceiling gets even higher. I think Zeke's fine. I think Aaron Jones is sneaky, going to be crazy low owned. Cordell Patterson is a guy you could consider as part of playing with Ryan in the stack, playing solo. But I mean, his role is massive right now, and it's got such upside for DraftKings. Like, he could get 10 plus targets. He's going to get carries. He's getting thrown to in the red zone. And he's a significantly nice, cheaper price off the big guys. I mentioned James Conner. Michael Carter's, with Mike White back in a trailing script. We saw White throw to him like 45% of the time between 5 or 6 quarters. And then you got Giarnis Johnson down there. Like, that's the running back position to me. What say you? And I think that the Denver guys are interesting too.
Okay, so I think that for this lineup, let's try and do McCaffrey, and then we can either. My question to you is: do you want to fit in like a James Conner on a bring back, or a Christian Kirk on a bring back, or something like that? I also don't mind if we wanted to add to our Atlanta stack for value. We have a 3,900 Tajay Sharp at wide receiver. He's taking the Calvin Ridley role. He's, they went to Zacchaeus last week, but I feel like at 3,900, that's the value that we need to kind of offset, get another running back or receiver.
I think Gage is also in the discussion. Like, he got 4 or 5 targets, 40 yards, 9 points. Like, in a shootout, he's got a good chance of getting a touchdown. Like, that's plenty as well. But yeah, the only problem is it's like, I think the Arizona guys are safer if Hopkins is out.
Mm-hmm. Kirk,
yeah, Kirk or Rondale Moore, either one. But yeah.
Well, Moore is hurt right now.
Yeah. So it's got to be Kirk.
Mm-hmm. So let's bring it back with Christian Kirk. That leaves us 5,000 for 2 spots at wide receiver and a flex.
Okay.
So we have 5,000 per player. So
yeah. So like the value receivers that I think are interesting are Jerry Judy at 5'3", Russell Gage, Tajay Sharp, Donovan Peoples-Jones, who came off an injury, played last week, got 3 targets, 2 for 86 and a touchdown. The last game he played, 4 for 101 and 2 touchdowns. No more Odell. Jamal Agnew has like this, incredible high volume role with the Jags. He's pretty much getting 5 to 8 targets, carries. He returns punts, and he's one of the best returners in the game. Christian Kirk, Jacoby Myers is really cheap. I don't really love that. Cole Beasley at 5'2". Anything else that you like for value that I didn't mention?
No, I mean, Beasley is in a good spot, but like I said, we don't really have much money to pay up. I think we have to try and get the biggest
value we
can get, and see what we can in our flex. So I think that we should go with Tajay Sharp.
I'm with it. I like him.
At 3,900, and then that gives us 6,100 for flex. That's Fournette, Michael Carter. If we save 200, if we kind of moved up 200, we could get up to Connor at 6,300. Let's see. You have Mel Gordon at 5,300. He scored in the last 3 games. Another value, I think that if you were playing the game script card and you think Tom Brady's going to be ahead, J.D. McKissick at 5,200, which time I think is a great spot, kind of offset other things. Those are the value guys. If we did that, then we can upgrade maybe from Sharp or Kirk.
And ultimately, this lineup just becomes so much stronger if you go from like McCaffrey down to Najee. You get 500, which would help, or like, I don't know, or like either that, or maybe we just go down off defense, save 200, and go with James Conner.
Mm-hmm. So then the defenses, if we were to save, would be like Carolina, Falcons, Lions, Vikings, Jaguars, Washington, and the Jets. So
I know it's ugly. I mean, the Jaguars, I don't like it, but they had a great game against Buffalo. I think the Lions could actually surprise and like create a slow game against Pittsburgh, like colder weather, outdoors. I feel like they actually showed up against the Rams the last time, and like yes, they ended up losing and whatnot, but their defense actually didn't play terrible in my opinion. I don't think it matters. Whatever's the best one you can get, great. You know, like the Redskins, even though it's against Tampa, you get some sacks. You know what I mean? The Jets against Buffalo. Buffalo, just played horrible. Maybe it continues. Josh Allen's turnover prone. Whatever. You know what I mean? It's like it really doesn't matter.
All right. So for the purpose of this lineup, what I did is I moved down to the Lions, and then I put in James Conner in our flex. So that leaves this lineup as Matt Ryan, Giarnis Johnson, Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, Christian Kirk, and Tajay Sharp as the receivers. Kyle Pitts as your tight end, James Conner in the flex, and the Lions D. Moving on to FanDuel. So on FanDuel, like I said, I'm going to lock in Dalvin Cook at 8,500 just for the other. I mean, I think that, 94, we got Najee, Jonathan Taylor's 94, McCaffrey's 9. To me, I feel like it's just a sweet spot value, good price. Let's not worry about it.
No, I'm totally with that. Do you want to surround it with some Charger pass game or just
I mean, we could stack that game because it's got the second highest total of the week at 53 points. I don't mind going back to Keenan Allen, but I think Mike Williams might be the play this week.
I was gonna ask, like, how healthy do you think Williams is? Because like he's got the higher ceiling. He's, was looking great. Injury held him back. It's now been like 3 weeks of him, like, having 5 targets all 3 weeks, 2 catches. Like, he's interesting. His price is way down. He's going to be low owned.
He's also
you're the Chargers guy. You tell me.
Okay, so he was probably healthy last week, but he also had Darius Slay on him all game. So the Chargers just picked and choose to just absolutely, pick on the Eagles over the middle. So to me, Mike Williams is going to have a game this week against
I love that.
Against that secondary. So I like that as one of our receivers. Moving on, let's move on to defense right now. For defense, once again, I'm just trying to look for, the best defense that's, playing one of the worst offenses and what their price is. You know what I mean? Like as cheap as you can get right now. I mean, it's kind of tough. See, the Titans are priced up a little bit on FanDuel. So, I can maybe see, I mean, believe it or not, the Chargers D, I could see them getting some sacks on Kirk Cousins a little bit.
How about like Philly against Denver at 36?
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. FanDuel has done a pretty good job at pricing the defense this week. Like they're pretty obvious. Like the defense is in the good spot. You might, New England 4,300 I think is a good cheap defense, especially with no
anybody from Arizona.
Arizona is up at 48.
Oh no, they're playing Carolina. Who's New England playing again? I forgot.
New England's playing the Browns.
Oh yeah, they're really beat up too. The Browns.
Yeah, they're not going to have any running backs and stuff. So I don't know. Let's just put in the Patriots right now and see if we can maneuver around them.
Okay. So we talked a lot about QB, running back. Let's talk receivers a little bit for this lineup. Like, I love the Seattle receivers. I love Devontae Adams. Chris Godwin is fine, but I think Antonio Brown's going to be back this week. So it's like, which Tampa Bay guy? They're all in good spots, but like the 3 highest priced guys on this isn't by price, but Devontae, Metcalf, AJ Brown I like, but Devontae, Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and I do think like The Redskins McLaurin guys in a phenomenal spot as well. Like, how would you rank those guys at the top? Are you interested as much as I am in some of these guys?
Definitely. I mean, obviously, Rodgers back. You have Devontae and Metcalf. I like that. Godwin's hurt with a foot. They don't know what's going to happen. That might open up something
Mike
for Tyler
Evans.
Johnson and stuff. The guy, I mean, AJ Brown's in a great spot. I think.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson. I think that this is more of a Justin Jefferson week than it would be. But the guy to me that I think that sticks out is Deontay Johnson. They're not. Chase Claypool is probably not going to play this week.
Mm-hmm. I'm with it. I like him too. I do like him.
And then in the mid tier, the guy that sticks out like a sore thumb to me is Jerry Judy. I mean, you have basically got a Keenan Allen clone in the slot going up against the same Avonte Maddox of the Philly in the slot, and Judy is just like he's the alpha in that offense. Ever since Sutton, if you look at all the games that Judy and Sutton have played together, Judy is out targeted and outdone him in every game. So it just seems like they're trying to get Judy more involved in the offense. His price is a little bit better, I think, on DK than it is on FanDuel, but at 6,200, I think you're going to need some sort of value, maybe even more.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think about Judy?
I like him. I'm totally fine with it. I will say, like, Tim Patrick kind of stole the show last week. I think they're all in play. Noah Fant is back. Like, they're all. I do like Judy. I do think he's got the safest volume. I don't think he's got the ceiling like Sutton, but I'm not like in love with the spot because of all the mouths to feed there, and I think they're gonna run the ball quite a bit. But I'm totally fine with Judy. Christian Kirk is expensive on FanDuel, but like if Hopkins, even if Hopkins plays, he's a really good play. But if Hopkins is out, like how does he not have a great game?
Well, and especially if Rondale Moore's out too, and he's like the only guy there. I mean, they might be signing Larry Fitzgerald off the street. I think Michael Pittman is also in this spot,
and he's the clear number one too. Devontae Smith finally had a good game.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be shocked to see that kind of continue, and like, doesn't even need to score. Like on FanDuel, you want it, but like he's a guy that can get like 8 catches for 120, 140. You got the same value with the Falcons. I think you'd be fine with over here, but I mean, I'm fine with Judy. Yeah, none of these other guys we just mentioned I really like that much more, but I guess I would say I like Pittman a lot more.
How about we do this? Tell me if you'll swing with this. Let's do a little correlation play. We'll do Michael Pittman at receiver,
mm-hmm.
and then we'll pay down for Dan Arnold at tight end.
I'm fine with that.
All right, let's do that.
Tight end's pretty ugly.
What? Tight end, yeah. Really, we don't have the big guys. Pitts has been like kind of neutralized. So Dallas can be beat with tight end. That's for sure. So I'm not but it's like tight end I feel like is a pay down this week. Guys like Tyler Conklin I think is good. I think you're going to have the recency bias of Pat Freiermuth, 100% from Monday night.
Yep. He's 3.9 on DraftKings. Like he's going to be popular, especially if like you said, Chase Claypool isn't playing. He's a good play.
So right now we're going to do Dan Arnold and Pittman as our two, and we'll get a piece of that game. That leaves us with 7,000 to fill 4 spots. That means, one, we could pay up for another one of these running backs we like. We can pay up for the quarterback that we like, and then go value the 2 other places. We could Giarnis Johnson on FanDuel is 5,400, I believe. So I feel like he is like the lock flex. Kind of got to do it just to do it.
What's Connor's price on FanDuel?
Connor's price on FanDuel where is he? I don't know.
Oh, he's 7K.
He's 7K. So he's right. I think he's probably priced appropriately. I don't think anybody thinks he's going to do what he did last week. I mean, that was a little bit much. So we lock in Giarnis. QB at this point, do we want to go Herbert because we got Williams?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
That's $8K. Now we can basically pay. We have $7,300 for another receiver, or we can pay up for another running back. Personally, I don't mind paying like Taylor wouldn't be bad.
What, a running back?
Yeah, like what should be our next?
Well, we already have Pittman. I mean, I think he's fine, but we already have Pittman. Did we put Deontay Johnson in the lineup?
No, we did not.
I mean, I think if Chase Claypool's out, I think you want to have either Najee, Deontay, or Freiermuth in all of your lineups this week, like one of those three. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's kind of tough to come off of Deontay. I mean, especially even on DK when he's like,
yeah, he's a better DK player.
Yeah. So if we locked in Deontay at 7,400, that leaves us 7,200 in the flex. I mean, our options are pretty damn good. We could go with Keenan Allen,
Tyler Lockett,
which that he has slate breaking potential. You know what I'm saying? If you think Kevin King is going to be on DK, I could see Lockett being a Lockett game.
Like Carson is potentially going to be back this week. Keep an eye on that. Like if he comes back, that adds a dynamic chunk of market share into the equation. But if he's still out, and they're trailing, I could see Russ throwing a ton to just Tyler, DK, and I could see Tyler Lockett having one of those 12 catch, 160 yard kind of games.
All right, why don't we do that? The other option would be James Conner at 7K as our third running back. Both Giarnis and James Conner.
Sure. So do you think James Conner is going to get the pass game work, or do you think that guy
Benjamin
or whatever? He got 5 targets last week, Conner, and it wasn't even what's his name was gone. The running back that got hurt from Arizona, Edmonds played the first quarter. You know what I mean? So 21 rushes, 5 targets. How much would Kyler Murray's status impact how much you like him?
If Kyler's out again, I think that would help his status more.
Yeah, I agree. It's just they're not going to want to throw. They're going to want to run, control the clock. Carolina's just horrible right now.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we don't see Kyler until after the bye. I think their bye is in week 11 or so, or week 12.
Oh, wow.
Their bye is coming up. I don't 100% know when it is, but it's a few weeks away. If it's not next week, it's the week after. So, I mean, next week, let's see. Next week they are at home they're at Seattle next week, and then I think week 12 they're off.
They're off week 12. Yep.
They're off week 12. So, it wouldn't surprise me if they were to hold him out for this game so he's ready to go to Seattle, or they might hold him out both. So why don't we go with Connor?
Yep, I'm fine with that.
All right, because thinking that Kyler's going to be out. So then that leaves this lineup as Justin Herbert at quarterback. Our running backs are Dalvin Cook, Giarnis Johnson, and James Conner. Our wide receivers are Mike Williams, Michael Pittman, and Deontay Johnson. Tight end is Dan Arnold, and the defense is the New England Patriots. So that pretty much does that for the Week 10 DFS show, but we're going to do our best bets. Paulie, I got one, and it's only because of the way that the NFL is, but I'm taking the Saints to win outright at Tennessee.
That's
And I know that that's kind of ballsy, but in this whole year,
who's the Saints quarterback in that scenario?
I think it's gonna be a combination between Simeon and Taysom. The Saints have played better on the road for some odd reason this year. They've won games when they're not supposed to win, and then Tennessee seems to screw up against opponents that they should beat, like the Jets earlier in the year and such. So I don't know. I just think I'm going to take the points. At least I'll take the 3 points in New Orleans. That is my bet of the week. And I also think that the Atlanta-Dallas game is going to shoot out. I think a year ago they had like 100 points between the two of them.
I'm with that. I could totally see that. Yeah, I'm gonna rock with a bunch of underdogs. I'll take the Redskins getting 9.5. Preferably 10. This is like a rematch of that first round playoff game. I see the Redskins just hanging in there, playing well. Like Tampa Bay maybe getting healthier at some spots, but dealing with injuries at others, and they haven't played as a whole in a while. Like I think this is a good sneaky spot. I like the Jags getting like 10.5 against the Colts. I think they're going to be riding a little bit of momentum. The Colts really can't stop anyone. And I just see them kind of possibly even winning, but at least just hanging in. And I also like the Dolphins at home getting 7.5 against the Ravens. I think that could be sneaky. I think that's Thursday night. Yeah, tomorrow night.
I also don't mind the under in the Cleveland New England game.
What's the total?
45.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
I mean, it's a little bit of a wish, but I mean, I could see Cleveland just being stymied, Baker having to win the game. There's not much, it's kind of tough. So anyway,
if both Rodgers and Russ play in that game's going over.
Oh yeah. At 49.5, yeah. And watch that point total is going to go up once they're if Rodgers
ruled in. Yep.
So I would get in if you guys are really gamblers, like get in on this now.
Yep.
Because we both think that Rodgers and Wilson are going to play. So, anyways, that's going to do it for the NFL DFS Wise Take Podcast for Week 10. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. We really appreciate it. And be sure to join the nation. But on Saturdays, we'll have our articles come out. Mine comes out some midday, along with the projections and stuff. And then Sunday morning, we usually get Paulie D's article as well as the core plays for Mr. CK. So, everybody, enjoy Week 10. And for Paulie D, I'm Patio Joe. And as CK says in the back, good luck.